Hey, well, thanks for joining us today. This is Jeff McNiell of the Houston Herald, joined by my coworker, Doug Davison. So whether you're watching us live or later, we wanted to take the opportunity to talk about what's in this week's Houston Herald. We got a great edition that we've put together. And Doug, that starts with our centerpiece on A1 as you met with our new city administrator, Tona Bowen. So why don't you tell me about that?
Well, she addressed a lot of different issues regarding her position and things that are going on in the city. And, my impression of her is that she's very articulate, well-spoken, and just a nice lady. Seems to have a really enthusiastic attitude and approach to her new position. And of course, she's the first female to ever hold the position.
So she talked a little about her vision for the community and what her approach will be as the new leader. So without giving away all that's in this story, just kind of share, what her approach is now with this position at Houston.
Well, for one thing, she intends to be quite visible in the community. She really wants to have an open door policy to employees and citizens. So we're going to see her out there, and she has admittedly a lot to learn, but she seems to be a quick learner. She's hit the ground running, so to speak.
Great. Well, so that's on A1 of this week's edition. Also, as part of this week's newspaper, we have two special sections. I'll tell you about one of those. The first is our annual football preview. We've got an 8-page section that previews Coach Eric Sloan's 2017 Houston Tigers. So you'll get a look at who's on the team, who the Tigers will be playing this season, and also a preview of what to expect from the Tigers. They open the season on Friday at Ash Grove. It's always exciting when you start a new football season. Of course, there's some excitement in the air with this year's Tigers. So inside this edition, you'll have a preview of the Houston football team as well as a recap of the 2017 Texas County Fair. And Doug, you spent a lot of time working on that, so why don't you tell us about that section?
Well, like every year, it's just loaded with information about the fair competition results and the junior livestock sale that wraps the whole thing up. So there's a lot of names, a lot of statistics, just a ton of information.
It's 16 pages full of things. Doug, what was your impressions of the fair this year? It seems like, again, they had a very successful, 4 days out there.
They did. Like every year, it never ceases to amaze me how much work goes into putting the dang thing on, how many people are involved, and, how many just good moments there are. So it was just another good fair. They always are.
Right. Well, this is the start of the school season, so as schools start around the county, I know Houston starts tomorrow, it's also the beginning of our sports seasons. So in this week's edition, last week we previewed the Houston High School softball team. This week we previewed the volleyball team. Coach Lauren Richardson is now in her second year leading the Lady Tigers, and so when you pick up this week's edition on the sports page, we'll have photos of the varsity girls as well as Coach Richardson's outlook for the team this year. As I said with football, the beginning of the season is always exciting because there's just some anticipation to see what we're going to be like and how things might unfold. So you can get a full preview of this year's volleyball team. Thursday, they've got a scrimmage, and that's also included on the sports page. So if you'd like to come out and see them in action, I believe the softball team scrimmage is at 5 o'clock. And the volleyball team at 6 o'clock, and they're also serving a baked potato meal at 4:30 at the high school gymnasium. So I'm sorry, the high school cafeteria. So that's all on the sports page as you get a preview of the sports teams. And one other thing I wanted to talk about, Doug, before we wrap this thing up, there's a new business in town here in Grand Avenue in downtown Houston. So why don't you tell me about that?
Well, it's a health food store on Grand Avenue downtown, and the name will be easy to remember because it's called The Health Food Store.
Easy enough.
Yeah. Miss Kathy Richardson has kind of put herself out there, and, she's fulfilling a long-time dream. And this is a business that really fills a niche in this community in a unique way. And I know there's a lot of people that are interested in having it make it, so to speak, so they don't have to drive to Springfield to buy the kinds of things that will be offered in there. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes, but it's off to a good start. I've heard that.
Awesome. Well, that's a look at this week's Houston Herald. We got a lot of good things in there. We've put a lot of time and effort into the stories and special sections that are included in the paper, so it'll be available in front of the Herald office and along with grocery stores, Walmart, gas stations this afternoon. And it'll be in your mailbox on Thursday. So we'll hope you enjoy it, and we'll talk to you next week as we talk more about the Herald. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.